Hey everyone, welcome to 59 Tops Friday, presented by Waxpack Wisdom, where we talk baseball history through the cards we love. My name is Jake T. O'Donnell. We built the iconic 1959 Topps baseball set, and in this series, we're going through every card to talk about the players, teams, and people who made up Major League Baseball in 1959. Today, we'll cover cards 454 through 460 in the set. Card number 454 belongs to Phil Clark of the St. Louis Cardinals. 1959 was the last of 2 seasons Clark pitched in the major leagues. Clark was born in Albany, Georgia, and was signed by the Cardinals as a teenager in 1951. He won 18 games in his first minor league season but missed almost 2 full years in the service during the Korean War. After he returned, he became a relief ace over 4 more minor league seasons, including winning 16 games with a 1.83 ERA in 1957. Clark debuted for the Cardinals in 1958, and over 14 total MLB appearances, he had an 0-2 record with a 7.98 ERA. He pitched professionally through 1961. Clark then returned to Georgia, where he studied to be a teacher and then taught high school for 30 years in Albany. He died in 2018 at the age of 85. Card number 455 belongs to Larry Doby of the Detroit Tigers. 1959 was the final season of a 17-year Major League career for Doby that included parts of 5 seasons in the Negro National League. Doby holds a critical distinction in MLB history, breaking the color barrier as the first black player ever in the American League and the second in either league behind Jackie Robinson. But not to be forgotten are Doby's amazing accomplishments on the field as one of his era's best center fielders, with numbers that more than earned his place in Cooperstown. Doby was born in Camden, South Carolina, and moved to Paterson, New Jersey when he was 12 years old. He took to playing baseball at an early age and played for the Newark Eagles of the Negro National League under an assumed name while he was still in high school. He later missed the 1945 season, serving as a physical education instructor during World War II. In 1946, the Eagles won the Negro National League World Series, and Doby hit .272 with a homer in the series. Bill Veeck, the owner of the Cleveland Indians, took notice of Doby, and he became intent on having the first black player in the American League. Veeck purchased Doby's contract from the Eagles, and Doby made his debut with the Indians on July 5, 1947, less than 3 months after Robinson's debut with the Dodgers. He pinch hit and struck out in his only at-bat, but got his first MLB hit the next day. Doby was mostly a pinch hitter for that first year, but in 1948 he won a starting spot in the Cleveland outfield, batting .301 with 14 homers. The Indians won the pennant behind strong seasons by Doby and fellow Hall of Famers Lou Boudreau, Joe Gordon, Bob Feller, Bob Lemon, and eventually Leroy Satchel Paige. Doby hit .318 with a homer in the series against the Braves, and the Indians won in 6 games. 1949 began a run of 7 consecutive AL All-Star team selections for Doby. The patient-hitting Doby led the AL with a .442 on-base percentage in 1950, then led the AL in 1952 in homers with 32, runs with 104, and slugging percentage at .541. He hit for the cycle in a game at Fenway Park that year on June 4th. In 1954, the Indians won 111 games in the pennant, with Doby as its central offensive force. He led the AL in homers with 32 and RBI with 126, while also playing a sterling defensive center field. But he only had 2 hits in the World Series, and the Indians were shockingly swept by the Giants. Doby finished second in AL MVP voting in 1954. After another strong season in 1955, the Indians traded Doby to the White Sox. Following 2 seasons there, he was traded to the Orioles and then subsequently back to the Indians before the 1958 season began. Doby was a part-time player there, and 1959 would be his final season spent between the Tigers and White Sox. His last game was on July 26th, and he did not appear in the World Series for the White Sox in 1959. Doby finished his 17-year career with 273 homers and a .288 batting average. He continued to play at the minor league level and spent a year playing in Japan in 1962. After his playing career ended, Doby coached in MLB for the Indians, White Sox, and Expos. He also owned a lounge and a liquor store in Newark and worked in the Essex County, New Jersey prosecutor's office. Doby fulfilled a long-time wish to be an MLB manager when he became the second black manager in MLB history in 1978 with the White Sox. The team went 37-50 during his tenure, and he was dismissed after the season. Doby's number 14 was retired by the Indians in 1997, and the following year, the Veterans Committee elected him to the Hall of Fame. He died in 2003 at the age of 79. Card number 456 belongs to Jerry Casale of the Boston Red Sox. 1959 was his second MLB season. Casale was born to Italian immigrant parents in Brooklyn and signed with the Red Sox shortly after finishing high school in 1951. He spent several years pitching in the minors and put up strong numbers, including leading the American Association with 186 strikeouts in 1955. Casale was inducted into the Army and missed almost all of 2 seasons in 1957 and 1958, finally debuting with the Red Sox late in the 1958 season. He spent most of the 1959 season in the Red Sox rotation, winning 13 games in just shy of 180 innings. The following year, Casale struggled through most of the season, and the Indians selected him in the expansion draft ahead of their first year in 1961. Casale hit the first home run by a pitcher in Angels history, which came against the Red Sox. He finished out his career with the Tigers in 1961 and 1962. All told, Casale threw 370 and a third innings and went 17-24 with a 5.08 ERA. Casale returned to New York City, first owning a butcher shop and later a restaurant. He had a 20-foot wide mural of Fenway Park painted on one of the restaurant's walls, showing Casale hitting a homer against the Yankees on September 7, 1959. He died in 2019 at the age of 85. Card number 457 is the Los Angeles Dodgers team checklist. The checklist on the back of the card covers cards 430 through 495 in the set. The Dodgers were a team in transition heading into the 1959 season. Many of the stars of their Brooklyn glory years had retired or moved on to other clubs, and their first season in Los Angeles had been a bumpy one in 1958. They lost 83 games and finished 7th out of 8 NL clubs, a stunning fall for a team that had won the pennant 4 times previously in the decade. Some of the old guard remained in place, like Gil Hodges, Duke Snider, and Carl Furillo, but a young nucleus of talent started to coalesce around them in 1959, including Charlie Neal, John Roseborough, Maury Wills, Ron Fairley, Don Demeter, Frank Howard, and more. A young pitching staff led by Don Drysdale, Sandy Koufax, Johnny Padres, Roger Craig, Stan Williams, and Larry Sherry also took a big leap forward for manager Walter Alston. The Dodgers finished 1959 with 86 wins, tied for the Braves for the lead in the National League. The Dodgers swept a best-of-3 game series against the Braves to earn a trip to the World Series against the White Sox. The first game in the series was a blowout loss for the Dodgers, but they rallied back to win the next 3 games by a combined margin of 4 runs. After losing Game 5, the Dodgers would not be denied in Game 6, winning by a score of 9-3 and taking home their first ever World Series title in Los Angeles and their second in franchise history. That emerging core of Dodgers talent in 1959 would eventually be critical for World Series wins again in 1963 and 1965. Card number 458 belongs to Gordon Jones of the San Francisco Giants. 1959 was Jones' 6th MLB season. Jones was a right-handed pitcher who spread his time in the big leagues between the Cardinals, the Giants, the Orioles, Athletics, and the Houston Colt 45/Astros. Jones signed with the Cardinals in 1949. His minor league time was interrupted by military service in the Korean War. Jones made his major league debut in 1954, starting Game 1 of a doubleheader. His rookie year would turn out to be Jones' best, as he went 4-4 with a 2.00 ERA, had 2 shutouts, and allowed just 18 runs in 81 innings. In his final 6 seasons, he made no errors. Jones ended his major league career with a 15-18 win-loss record, a 4.14 ERA, and 232 strikeouts. Following his playing career, Jones was the pitching coach for the Astros. He was relieved of his duties after a season and a half, following a rift developing between Jones and other members of the pitching staff. Jones later worked as a sales representative for a wholesale electrical dealer. He died in 1994 at the age of 64. Card number 459 belongs to Bill Tuttle of the Kansas City Athletics. 1959 was Tuttle's 7th year in the big leagues. Tuttle was primarily a center fielder who spread his time in the big leagues between the Tigers, Athletics, and Twins. Tuttle briefly made his major league debut in 1952 for the Tigers, playing 7 games before being sent back down to the minors until 1954. The people in Tuttle's hometown of Farmington, Illinois were very proud of him. 400 fans from his hometown took a special train to Chicago to see Tuttle play against the White Sox. He did not let his hometown fans down, going 3 for 9. Being a highly superstitious player, Tuttle wore the number 13. He would finish his time in the big leagues with a .259 batting average, 67 home runs, and 443 RBI. Following his baseball career, Tuttle had many different jobs. He ran an establishment called Tuttle Supper Club, worked for a distillery, and was an assistant golf pro at a golf club. Tuttle was diagnosed with oral cancer in 1993. He had been introduced to chewing tobacco by a teammate during his playing career and subsequently became addicted. Unfortunately, Tuttle's insurance, including his Major League Baseball insurance coverage, did not cover his cancer treatments. Through an organization called the Baseball Assistance Team, Tuttle was able to have his cancer treatment costs covered in exchange for him openly speaking against tobacco in all forms. During the last years of his life, Tuttle was disfigured by his oral cancer surgeries, and he spent that time traveling to speak about the dangers of chewing tobacco to baseball players and coaches at all levels, as well as children. Tuttle died in 1998 at the age of 69 from oral cancer. Following his death, Tuttle's widow continued on their work to educate on the issue of smokeless tobacco, including establishing a foundation to assist with tobacco cessation. Card number 460 belongs to Bob Friend of the Pittsburgh Pirates. 1959 was Friend's 9th year in the big leagues. Friend was a right-handed pitcher who spent 15 years with the Pirates before splitting his 16th and final season between the Yankees and Mets. Growing up, Friend showed a lot of promise as a musician studying piano. Additionally, Friend was a gifted athlete showing talent in football, baseball, basketball, and golf in high school. Friend dreamed of playing football at Purdue like his father, but a shoulder injury led him to focus on baseball. He did enroll in Purdue and earned his bachelor's degree during the baseball offseason for 8 years while playing for the Pirates. After making his big league debut in 1951, Friend quickly earned a reputation for being a reliable and consistent pitcher. In 1955, Friend became the first pitcher to lead his league in ERA while pitching on a last-place team. Friend was a 4-time All-Star, making the team in 1956, 58, and 1960 twice. In 1955, Friend was the National League ERA leader and led the MLB in wins in 1958. Additionally, Friend was part of the 1960 World Champion Pirates, although he was stuck with 2 of their 3 losses. Friend ended his baseball career with a 197 and 231 loss record, a 3.58 ERA, and 1,734 strikeouts. He was later inducted into the Pirates Hall of Fame. As of the date of this recording, Friend still holds the Pirates record for total innings pitched and total number of career strikeouts. Although Friend did not quite rise to the level of a Hall of Fame pitcher, he was considered part of the best 1-2 combination in baseball, Friend being number 2 to Vern Law. Following his baseball career, Friend worked as controller for Allegheny County, Pennsylvania for multiple years before joining an insurance brokerage, where he rose through the ranks and became vice president. Friend's son, Bob Friend Jr., became a professional golfer and played on the PGA Tour. Bob Friend Sr. died in 2019 at the age of 88. That's going to do it for this edition of 59 Tops Friday on Wax Pack Wisdom. Today's episode was written by Abby O'Donnell and Jake T. O'Donnell. Do you have a story about one of the people, players, or teams we discussed today? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear it. A programming note. Next Friday's episode will cover all 10 cards in the legendary, groundbreaking 1959 Topps Baseball Thrills subset. You won't want to miss it, and we look forward to seeing you back here next Friday. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our Wax Pack Wisdom content. In the video description, you'll find our source material for this episode, links to where you can follow us on all social media channels, as well as a list of our favorite nonprofits and charities. Please consider a donation to one of them if you enjoyed this content. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Wax Pack Wisdom. Take care.